All right, so now we'll be mounting the encoders onto their mounts and onto the robot. So we'll start out by grabbing our M2 screws, again, using the M2x8s. For this, if you have a larger selection or ordering them from scratch, you could get some shorter M2x6 or even 4mm would do the trick. But if you're just working with a minimum number of fasteners, then you can use these 2x8s, that'll do the trick. Depending on the print, you might want to add a little washer into there, but that's up to you. Just using it straight like this will do the trick. So just put one of them in, just screw it in. Here I'm using a Torx bit. This small Torx works well for the M2s. Some of these bulk fasteners have kind of funky sizes for the, so see there how we have a little bit protruding. That won't be an issue with the wheel, with how the design of the wheel, how we have these, that recess where it comes up a lot more in the middle and don't have as much on the side. But if you want to go to a shorter one, feel free to. But on some of these Chinese low-cost fasteners, you end up having poor tolerancing on the hex head. And with it, some of the regular ones might be too big, might be too small. I've even had some of them where it's been a metric screw that I've had to go to Imperial for the Allen key to tighten it. So kind of your mileage may vary with the best tool for the job. So there we go, we've got that installed. I just put 2 of them on. Now you have the option, depending on how you want to run the wires, you can either run them externally or pass them through that hole. You'll have to, if you do decide to pass them through the hole, you'll also have to run them through here and then up. So for that, we'll wait on that until we get it mounted on the robot. So these are mirrored, not identical. So for these, we'll get that aligned like this. And then I'll grab our M4 screws to install this. And again, this is just threading into the plastic. How tight the hole is will vary depending on the printer that you used and the settings for overhangs and supports and etc. In the case that it is a little bit tight, feel free to grab a drill bit one size up. You can also look at the tap drill size for these metric screws and just select the tap drill size for it. Otherwise, most prints from commercial printers are going to come right off the print bed ready just to be threaded on like that. So see, we get a nice good mount. There's a little bit of wobble there, but we just line it up, and this encoder doesn't have any force acting on it. So there we are. You can see that we have plenty of clearance inside, right like that. And that side is all set. Now let's do the other side, and then we'll be able to start wiring these on. Oh, look there, we had an encoder pop out. So when you're working on the assembly of these robots, if you're flipping it on the side and you happen to put it onto a metal table, sometimes the magnets will pop out. So before you install the encoder, make sure that you have a magnet in there. If you're not getting a reading, there's a chance that you don't have a magnet anymore. All right, so we got that. Again, like the other side, we'll grab our M4s. It is a little bit tricky to put in the bits on these one-handed. With these threading into plastic, you want to make sure that you don't strip them out. There is a chance that you can. If you do, you can add a little bit of glue in there and kind of rebuild it. But just go until it gets tight enough that things aren't wobbling, and that's going to be plenty good. So a little bit of tolerance there, but that's okay. We'll just push it down to where that's flush right there on both sides, and we'll call it good. So now to show you what it would look like if you run the wires through. So we have that hole right there. And the purpose of that cutout there is to be able to run a zip tie around to hold the wires if you're going on top. But we can just shove that through right there, pull that out. And then now that wire is running nice and neatly there. And then we can push it up like that. And then that would go into your terminal block here. The other option is to run the wire externally using the slot cut in here, where you would lay the wire like that, and it'd be ideally using zip ties held back like that. Right here, so you'd run the wire like that with the zip ties holding it, and then it would just go right into that slot. Depending on how you want to assemble it, you could do either. When I was doing early prototyping with using DuPont connectors on the end of these, I had to run it externally, but now that we're just using these screw terminals, we can just pass the wires right through like this, making it a lot cleaner. Again, it's up to you. You can get by with a little bit less wire if you run it externally, just right in. But like I've been saying, it's always, wire is a consumable. It's worthwhile just to make it a little bit longer, and even if you do have to eat up some of it. it's still going to make your life a lot easier than having too little. So there are those. We'll grab these here. And we'll put these up on this side. Right, like that. Bring that over. Just so that we have these bundles separated. So now with that, we can start looking at adding the wires for our power supply. So for that, we will flip the robot over. I'll remove the pie just so that we're not throwing that thing around. But we have these 4 connectors here. On the back side, you can see around the motor that we have input, switch, 5 volt, and bat. So input, switch, bat, 5 volt. So with it, the input, that is this plug right here. So this is how we give power to the UPS. The switch is this. This is our on and off for the robot. The battery is this guy. So this is just the battery voltage coming out, which is right around 12 volts. And then 5 volts is this guy. That's a regulated 5 volt power supply for our Raspberry Pi. So to get started, again, we start with the input. So that's this one. We'll put that on. Well, before we put it on, we need to add the nut here so that we can mount it. So I'll get that put on right like that. Now we can install it. Now for the switch. And I'll make sure we're going in the right order. Input, switch. Bat. And 5 volt. One thing to note while I'm running these, and I again forgot that these have to come in from the outside, is that if you don't have batteries in and you're trying to run the motors and having issues with things crashing, you need the extra current supply from the batteries that just can't be supplied by the wall wart, the little wall power supply. So if you're having issues with that, just put in the batteries and it'll start working as it should. So right now I'll pull this around and we'll get these installed. So I'll start with the switch here. So again, I got to pull this off, push this guy through. We'll just push that guy flush, put on the nut. And then just thread that on. Just get it finger tight and then take it a little bit further. So you should be able to get it pretty tight with your fingers and then take, even if it isn't a big enough plier, and just kind of move it around a little bit more just to get it a bit tighter, and that'll be plenty good for this. So just as long as it doesn't walk off and you have a good connection on there. Now we'll grab this guy, push it through, put our nut back on, run it up, and then thread that on. Now this is the connector that you'll be having a lot of interaction with, plugging and unplugging the battery. So we'll want to get this one a little bit tighter. So I'll give this one a few goes. Now obviously if you had a the right set of wrenches for this, that would be better, but just using the pliers works fine. And also this is just plastic thread, so you can start to strip it. So you don't want to go so far that you strip it. If you're tighten till it's loose, don't do that. Just don't tighten it as far. So we'll pull this guy, push these ones back through. Right like that. Get that in frame. So we'll push these guys through, right like that. Gosh. There are better angles to do this, but for the camera. There we go, so that's our input. We'll check it. Input is the first one. We'll sneak the switch wire in. Try to avoid making too much of a tangled mess of wires. Right like that. Perfect. Now we have power supply, and I will install our Raspberry Pi. So this guy will line up right there like that. I'll grab a couple of screws. We should have them floating on the table here. Let's see if we can find them. There they are. So we have our two M2s. Now you can add more. You know, definitely it's good to fill out all the potential fastener locations. You can put it up to 4. Use 4 M2s for mounting this. Definitely good practice to do that and be more securely mounted. For this video, I'm just installing 2 of them, and that's plenty for doing benchtop testing. If you're going to be doing a lot of upgrades, you know you'll be disassembling it multiple times. This is the minimum number to not have things falling apart randomly for you. Perfect. Now that's on there, good and strong. Now we can plug this guy in.